For about the 17th time in the last 5 years, we're on Giannis watch. Although this time, it appears someone's actually going to get Giannis. Will that someone be the Golden State Warriors? We're going to break down the odds coming up on today's show.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
What are they going to say now?
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How we feeling, everyone? Welcome to the Locked On Warriors. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Charlie Walter, riding stag on today's show. Check me out on TikTok at NBA After Dark. Also at It's Charlie Walter, CWalter22 on Instagram, Charlie Walter TV on Twitter. Housekeeping out of the way. Also, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. It's a great way to get tickets for your next concert, comedy show, or, of course, sporting event. Itinerary today, we're talking about the Giannis Antetokounmpo news. What is that news? We're going to get into that, of course, but it's trending towards Giannis being on another team in about a month from now. Will that team be the Warriors? We will debate. Will the Warriors benefit from this, conversation one way or the other? I'm going to give you a reason why they potentially could. We're going to talk Seth Curry and his debut in the loss to Oklahoma City, and we're going to get into some of Steve Kerr's wacky rotations. I don't know if wacky is even the right word. Just mind-boggling from time to time is the right word. It almost feels like it's a predetermined rotation. Like you can't necessarily earn in-game those minutes, and he's just going to stick with whatever he thought he was going to stick with at the 4-minute mark, regardless of whether Pat Spencer is balling or not. If you know, you know. All right, let's get into the program today. Again, riding stag. Giannis Antetokounmpo is not riding stag. He's teaming up with his agent to go into Milwaukee's front office, and he's having the sit-down meeting per Shams, asking, fellas, what's the future here? Our team stinks. The best player surrounding me is, I guess, either Myles Turner or Ryan Rollins. That's not going to cut it. I said over the summer I was committed to this team if we could win. And unfortunately for Giannis and unfortunately for the Bucks, that partnership to where they have to meet in the middle with winning, that does not appear to be happening. They don't have draft picks to throw around. They traded a bunch of assets to get Dame Lillard. They traded assets made things happen to bring in Myles Turner. And there are just only so many avenues that they can take. So with that being said, Giannis officially appears to be at least very much considering his future moving forward. And over the summer, there was the smoke around New York. And in the past, there's been the smoke around the Golden State Warriors. Now, what we know per Brian Windhorst of ESPN, he says that it's going to be Giannis picking his team. It's going to be Giannis choosing between a short list, telling the Milwaukee Bucks where he wants to go, and then Milwaukee trying to figure out the best trade package from there. So there's your avenue to Golden State landing Giannis. It's the only avenue to landing Giannis, is that he specifically requests, I want to go play with Steph Curry. That's where I want to potentially finish out my career. I want to bridge this timeline between, Steph and the next superstar. I want to be the guy running around at Chase, putting up 30 points and 10 rebounds per game when Steph retires. And there is the opportunity to land him in free agency the summer after this upcoming one. So the summer of 2027, in what will be a loaded free agency class. And remember, the Warriors have tons of money that summer coming off the books, $150 million around that, to be exact. But you would have to imagine that where Giannis goes next is where Giannis is going to finish out his career. So all this talk on Giannis and him being Joe Lacob's golden goose, it's going to come to fruition one way or the other. And we don't actually seriously think that the Warriors are going to land Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? I don't think they have a shot in hell. Reason A is I do think Giannis was trending towards the New York Knicks. Reason B, if he wasn't, there are other teams out there that just have a way better package than the Warriors can provide. Here's one that I saw on the trade machine. It's Giannis and his bro coming to the Bay Area, and in return, the Milwaukee Bucks get Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Pajemski, and Trace Jackson Davis. Now, face value, you say, why in the hell would Milwaukee want that hodgepodge? They have no picks. They get Kuminga for this 2-year deal that he's on, and they get to see if he's worth anything. They get Pajemski, who half the Bay Area wants to run out of town, for God's sakes. They get Trace Jackson Davis, a fringe NBA player, and they get Draymond Green, who arguably is way more valuable with the Warriors than any other team in the NBA. Now, here's why it would make sense. Milwaukee needs picks, right? In this current scenario, the Warriors are throwing them their 2027 first, their 2028 first, their 2029 first, their 2031 first, and 2032 first. Now, that's 5 first-round picks. That seems a little aggressive. That's what you call depleting the future. But do anything for Giannis, right? First thing is first, in order for the Warriors to have any chance at landing the freak that's, again, putting up 30 points, 10 rebounds per game this season. He's 30 years of age. He's entering the back 9 of his career, but he's going to be cooking until hole 16. Like, this dude still has plenty in the tank. And if you put him on a team with Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, and it probably would be Jimmy Butler, because financially speaking, I think Butler makes as much or even more than Giannis, to where you can't even really do that swap. It becomes more difficult, to where the Kuminga, Draymond, that deal does make sense. But you would have to throw an abundance of draft capital that can really screw you if something goes awry. You're one injury away from just having zero future, and all of a sudden it looks like the LA Clippers in the Bay Area, to where you have no draft picks, you have an aging team, you have a squad that's not good enough. So there is some risk attached. But first things first, Giannis has to specifically request a trip to the Bay Area. And until it is no, it's always a possibility. We know this has been in the back pocket of Joe Lacob for how many years? And now it's finally coming to a boiling point where Giannis is actually going to potentially end up somewhere else. Will that somewhere be in the Bay Area? Let me know in the comments if there is a chance there. I want to throw out a wild card team that I think could get involved in the Giannis sweepstakes. I keep hearing LA being mentioned by people on social media, and I'm like, what would LA throw Milwaukee's way? Why would the trade make sense? I mean, LA appears to be in a nice position right now. And someone said Bronny, of course. No, someone said Austin Reeves. And I'm thinking, well, money doesn't necessarily work there. All the apron issues, you'd have to get potentially multiple teams involved. So that one doesn't make sense to me. There is a team, though, in the Eastern Conference. In fact, here's a tease. About 50 miles down the road from Milwaukee, that could actually make a little bit of sense. We're going to discuss that. A consolidation trade for the Warriors. Could it be coming up? A consolation trade for the Warriors if they are not to land Giannis. How could they get better by maybe plucking someone on the Milwaukee Bucks? We're getting into all these things, plus Steve Kerr's rotation and a deep dive into Seth Curry's opening game debut with the Golden State Warriors. That is all straight ahead on Locked On Dubs.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA, and you will get $20 off your first purchase. I used it for the Blazers game out in San Francisco a couple weeks ago. Was over at Mission Rock, actually, right across the street before the game. Needed some tickets. Didn't want to run to the box office. Pulled out the phone. Boom. Panoramic view. You get the best price, the best bang for your buck as it gets closer to tip off. That is why you like Game Time. It's clutch. It gives fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets in every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, Create an account and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, download the app, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Doer. They got a physical store at 567 Hayes Street in Hayes Valley. And the reasons that we love Doer, it's so damn comfortable. It's 5 times the stretch of traditional denim. Check out their performance denim slim straight. Those are the jeans I've been wearing for the last year or so. They got Cool Max. It regulates your body temperature. It wicks away moisture. They are jeans that feel stretchy without looking stretchy. It combines classic jeans wear style with the comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. It's the best of both worlds. Check them out in store, 567 Hayes Street. Check them out online at, what is that link online? It's shopdoer.com/lockedonsf. Use code LOCKEDONSF for 15% off. Doer is spelled DUER. Shopdoer.com/LOCKEDONSF or visit them in store. All right, let's get back to the show.
And buddy, stop trying to dribble the ball.
All right, so if Giannis were to be traded, fire sale becomes available from the Milwaukee Bucks, you would have to think. They're going to tinker things because they built this thing around Giannis. They built it with tons of three-point shooters that could space the floor. Giannis could drive and kick. Warriors need some three-point shooters. Maybe someone becomes available on the cheap that they could get. There could be a little roster turnover. But the name that makes sense that is available to be traded come late December is Myles Turner. We've heard this name now for many moons. When he was in Indianapolis, we heard him connected to the Warriors. Maybe there'd be some interest there. He's the perfect stretch 5. So I want to hear from you. Is Myles Turner a name that could make some sort of sense? Went to the NBA championship last season, Eastern Conference championship the season prior, averages 12.5 and 6. His number's somewhat down this season. 43% from the floor, 39% from 3. So that's a welcomed addition, and shoots at 71% from the charity stripe. I mentioned that the 6.5 rebounds per game. He's someone that makes in the mid-20s. Obviously, Kuminga and Myles Turner, that could be a partnership. But would you do it? Does it make sense? Dubs need size, but is Myles Turner that type of size that they need? He's not an outstanding rebounder. He's solid, but a lot of his games pick and pop, a lot of his games around the perimeter. Is that the type of player that the Warriors need, considering that's where Al Horford and Quentin Post do a lot of their damage offensively, is stretching the floor and hitting some threes? I will say this. Al Horford, it feels like forever since the last time he's played. I mean, when is the last time he's played? It's been at least 3 games, I think. And he's dealing with some sciatica. He's questionable on Thursday against the 76ers. So Steph Curry is out this upcoming road trip. And the road trip is Philly, it's Chicago, and it's another team out east, Cleveland. So Curry's going to miss all 3 of those games. Jimmy Butler's questionable after taking that hard fall against New Orleans, but that's not the issue. He's dealing with some knee soreness. So it's iffy right now for the Warriors in terms of staying healthy. And the only thing that'll make this not iffy very quickly is if sometime in the next month there's news that comes out that Giannis Antetokounmpo is on a plane out to the Bay Area and looking for some real estate in Atherton. That would be chef's kiss. But Myles Turner, that's a name that I'll be looking at. Is this domino falls? Will the Warriors get involved in any of these tons of trades that will likely go down to try and make this work? Now, a team that I brought up that could make sense, I think New York is the betting favorite. New York's the team where everyone thinks he's going. I was going to say, you remember there was the lip reading at the Italian restaurant over the summer about playing in New York, but that was actually LeBron that said something along the lines of retire or play in New York. But there were the rumors all summer that Giannis could be interested in playing in New York. And there have been rumors in the past, not rumors, straight from the man's mouth himself, that his dream teammate would be Steph Curry. So we will at the very least monitor that situation. But the team that makes a little bit of sense, at least from a player personnel wise, both ways, would be the Chicago Bulls. Billy Donovan's been there forever now. They aren't necessarily competitive right now. In fact, they started off this season looking great, and since then have sputtered. They lost to the Brooklyn Nets tonight, did Chicago. They're 9-12. But the team that's signing Giannis, it's not about winning a championship this season. It's about the next 4-5 years investing into this timeline that Giannis gives you. He's still going to be one of the best players, all NBA caliber, for the next 3, 4, 5 seasons, you would think. It's just 30 right now. Chicago has Josh Giddey to build around currently. He's good. He's really good. He's not lead a team to NBA championship good. Pair him with Giannis. All right. You've got something going. Now, why would Milwaukee do that? There has been some talk in the past that Giannis could be interested in playing in Chicago, one. And we've seen videos of Giannis in Chicago and vacation, whatever it may be. But that was Luka too. Chicago. There was that TikTok trend that was going around, or Twitter trend, where you guys remember this. They asked everyone, like, name the 5 biggest cities in the United States, or the 5 most poppin' cities. I don't know how they necessarily said it. And LA was on everyone's list. New York was on everyone's list. And then from there was, there were some Miamis, there were some San Franciscos, which doesn't really make sense if you know the Bay Area. Like, obviously San Jose, combine it with Oakland, San Francisco, it's big, but San Francisco itself, no. But Chicago's freaking huge. It's a huge market, and it's a place that has not really had a star since Jordan, aside from the few years of Derrick Rose. And the trade that they could involve is around Matas Buzelis, who is in his second year in the NBA. He's averaging like 13 and 6, but he's 21. He's young. He's got good game to him. And he's under team control for the next 3 years for $5 million. And when you're a team like Milwaukee that doesn't appear to be, like, they have a couple options here. Their first option is to trade with New York and try to bring in Bridges and maybe Deuce McBride and a couple other dudes, whoever they could get, cobble them together with Kuzma and Ryan Rollins and Turner and the squad they have, and try to win now. But they're not gonna win now. It's just not gonna. You're rearranging chairs on the Titanic at that point. So when Giannis says potentially, this is what I would imagine is going down, because all the smoke is that Giannis is like, this is the writing on the wall. This is the end of Giannis in Milwaukee. And if he were to leave Milwaukee, they want some young talent. And Chicago could offer Buzelis. They could offer Vucevic just to make the money work. He's an expiring contract. They can get money off the books. And then the other young piece that could be involved, along with a ton of draft picks, would be Kobe White, who they could, give an extension to, and then throw in a player like Isaac Okoro or something, who's got a couple of years left on his deal, couple first-round picks, and all of a sudden that seems like a sweeter package than one that the Warriors would throw around with, frankly, very inconsistent players. Kuminga, Pods, Draymond. I mean, I don't know what Draymond does for the Milwaukee Bucks at this point with where they stand and the timeline that they will be on. So unless Giannis specifically demands a trade to the Bay Area, I pointed out a random team in Chicago that I think has a better trade package. I bet Detroit has a better trade package. I bet Orlando could cobble together a better trade pack. There are so many teams around the NBA that have better trade packages than the Warriors. And that's kind of the issue right now with the team. We don't know who those next guys are going to be. We've been waiting for that next crop to take the next step. And it's always one step forward, maybe 1.5 steps forward, and then a full step back. So you're still a half step forward. Then all of a sudden it's another half step back and you're right back to square one. And we saw it against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Warriors actually nice effort, but 12-point loss, 124-112. We saw the team just not able to put it together. Like Pods had his run early, struggled late. Pat Spencer gets in the game late, dominates. He gets pulled for Pods. Buddy comes in, struggles to shoot. There's just no rhyme or reason with how these guys are. It's 15 here, 25 there. Swap that 15 for 25 a couple nights later, but it's never performance-based, it feels like right now. It's kind of Kerr just going with whatever his gut tells him, and it doesn't necessarily make sense. I want to give Steve Kerr the benefit of the doubt and say that if there was a player that was light years, see what I did there? Light years ahead of Podziemski and Kuminga and Moody, he would play that guy. Like you saw during the Warriors dynasty run, there wasn't a lot of tinkering. Even NBA championship 2022 Warriors, there wasn't a ton of tinkering, minus maybe, all right, Gary's hurt in this series against Memphis. We're going to go bigger and throw in some Otto Porter, or we're going to go with 10 minutes of Bielitsa, or occasionally the 3 minutes of the aging Iguodala. But aside from that, you knew what the rotation was going to be, and it's because the Warriors had some depth. Right now, they have a bunch of dudes, but they have no one that is separating themselves from the pack, and that's kind of the issue. And everyone has their complaints. Everyone hops in and says, why'd he pull Kuminga? Everyone's now hopping in saying, well, why'd he pull Pat Spencer? In a vacuum, you would have to think Brandon Podziemski's a better basketball player than Pat Spencer, at least over the sample size of a couple of seasons. But in that moment, Pat Spencer's playing great ball. Why take him out? And it just seems like there's always that predetermined plan. They need some scoring against OKC late. He's going to go with Pods, and he's going to put in Buddy Hield to knock down some threes, despite the fact that Buddy cannot hit anything right about now. Anything. Let me know what you think about the rotations. Coming up, let's get into Seth Curry, the awesome start that he had as a Golden State Warrior, and whether he can realistically keep this up and have a late offensive renaissance. Like two-way player, you're not getting that. But someone that can really, really light it up, you saw from game one against the best team in the NBA what Seth Curry can do. We'll break that down. That is straight ahead.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. Let's tell you a little bit about Robinhood, our sponsor on today's program. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you could put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. And now you can take part in live marketplaces powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play. You decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now across the U.S., download the Robinhood app now to begin.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
On to the game that Steph Curry had against Oklahoma City. He signs with the Warriors on Sunday and suits up with Golden State on Tuesday and immediately showed his worth. And I don't get why he was on what felt like a minutes restriction. Why did he only play 18 minutes? He was like the best player on the floor for Golden State. They didn't exactly light up the world. And again, it goes back to Steve Kerr just needing the strength in numbers. It worked back in the day because it could work. It doesn't need to work this way now. Figure it out. Seth Curry plays 18 minutes. He had 14 points. He was 6 of 7 shooting. He was 2 of 3 from 3. Why is he on a minutes restriction? He's healthy. He wasn't with the Warriors due to financial situations and apron issues. Had nothing to do with a bum ankle or anything like that. Why is he only playing 18 minutes? Kuminga got the least amount of minutes on the team, least aside from Jimmy Butler, who only got 15. Moses Moody got 15 in the game. It's just strange how Kerr can go 32 one game for Moses Moody and then turn around and go 15 the next. There's no rhyme or reason with this thing. And that's why I think consolidation trade is more than likely. And Seth Curry is one of those guys that allows you to make a consolidation trade. You add in DeAnthony Melton too. That's two dudes that you did not have a week ago. And that means two dudes can go out the door that maybe you thought you needed a week ago. Who are those guys? Moody, Pajimski, Kuminga, Heald. Those are the ones that make sense due to maybe not even Pajimski due to financial reasons because he doesn't make anything. But if a team does have interest in him because he's at least shown the capabilities of putting up like 25 and 8 at times, not consistently, but he's done it before. Maybe a team says, hey, that guy, we get him for another year. Maybe we can get him on a team-friendly contract. Let's take on his $4 million and add in Kuminga to that deal. And let's take these Warriors guys that we don't believe Steve Kerr has given a fair chance to develop, and we're going to develop them over in XYZ, Utah, Salt Lake. Get ready to learn Salt Lake City, whatever it would be. But the fact that the Warriors are rolling 11 deep in a game where they're already missing Steph Curry and Al Horford and DeAnthony Melton. So essentially, Steve Kerr believes in 14 dudes on this roster. Oklahoma City, they went with 9. They were missing Hartenstein. They were missing, Lou Dort? Yeah, they were missing Lou Dort, and they were missing Caruso. So they're missing 3 guys, and they roll with 9 dudes in the game. And they probably could have rolled with 8, realistically. I just don't understand this. I said the same thing a season ago. Steve Kerr just consistently does this. And maybe it has something to do with the analytical minds that the Warriors think they are, to where they're getting as much data with all these lineup combinations as possible. They know that a consolidation trade is coming. They want to figure out what works, what doesn't. They're getting everything on film. Maybe that has something to do with it. But it's a continuation of last year, where you'd get Lindy Waters lighted up for a game and then you wouldn't see him for 3 days. And Loon would go to the bench and Steve Kerr would go to the presser and say, Kyle Anderson and Loon are some of the most well-respected professionals I've ever coached, and it breaks my heart that they're not going to be playing for this year's team. They've just fallen out of the rotation. And the next thing you know, Looney's in the postseason rotation and Jonathan Kuminga's not. It's been weird, man. It's been weird. And that's the thing I've been begging for. It's just like, give me 9 dudes that on a given night I know can give you super solid minutes. It's what we saw from Minnesota last year. In fact, I'm sure we're seeing the same thing from Minnesota this year. I'll use them as a case study. I'll pull up their last game. I know they played, I think it was Washington. No, Sixers played. They played the Pelicans. I knew it was a bad team, and they went to OT, and Edwards put up 44 in that game. And we'll talk about the Pelicans in about 2 seconds because another trade option with them. But in that game, they played 8 dudes, essentially. They went with Naz Reid, Conley, and Jalen Clark off the bench. They gave Dillingham a few minutes. They gave Terrence Shannon a few minutes. But they go 8 men. Edwards played 47. DiVincenzo played 38. Gobert played 38. McDaniels played 33. Randall played 33. The Warriors are old, so they're not equipped to play that way. Al Horford's not going for 38. If he does, he's not playing for a month after. And that's part of the reason why everything's flawed for the Dubs. And it's part of the reason why if they did get Giannis Antetokounmpo in there, I wouldn't be mad about it, because you can send 5 names out the door, and I promise you, as long as Giannis is the one coming in and his brother, it would look much better. Still waiting on these. I get in these fights with Kolsky all the time because he thinks it's all about development. I think a lot of it is development, but I think a lot of it is truly, you're going to see when these guys are on another team, they're just not that good. They're fine. They're good on certain days, but consistently good, I think you're going to find out that they're just not that good. And regardless of how, now it could be better, that all of this could have been handled better, and these players could be more ready. And 3-4 years ago, they could have been equipped for this moment, and maybe they'd be slightly more consistent. But would they be great? Hell no. How have you not seen enough at this point? We're in like year 5 of some of these dudes, and we're still asking the questions. No, at a certain point, you are who you are. And the Warriors do need to get a little bit better. I will say I was excited with the fight that they put up in that game against Oklahoma City. That felt like a silver lining, a moral victory that they at least down 19 fought hard to get back into it. How much did Oklahoma City take their foot off the pedal? Probably quite a bit, 19 on the road. But the fact that the Warriors were able to fight back into that game, you at least have to take a positive away from that. And then you got to take a positive away from Seth Curry doing what he did in that game. Wednesday night's action. The Portland Trailblazers took down the Cavs. Avdia had 27, 8-7. Mobley had 23 and 10 for Cleveland. We will still see Cleveland on this road trip. They are 13 and 10 on the season. They're 8-5 at home, which is where the Warriors will play them in Cleveland. Nuggets beat the Pacers. Nuggets are 15 and 6. Jamal Murray, 52 points. NBA 50 on Dash Pass. If you remember Dash Pass right now, they're a sponsor of this show. And use code NBA50. You'll get 50% off your DoorDash the next day. So get some wings on us, on Jamal Murray. Thank you, Jamal. 52 points, man. They're sleeping on Jamal, and people are sleeping on the Denver Nuggets. It is not a cakewalk to the finals for OKC by any means. There's some good teams in the West. One of those teams, the Spurs, still without Wembanyama, but they had De'Aaron Fox go for 31. They beat the Magic 114-112. I was watching that one live. They actually fouled. Was it Fox? I think it was Fox that sunk the game-winning free throws. Franz Wagner was fouled on a 3 with like 5 seconds left. He hit all 3 free throws to tie it, and then the Spurs got to the charity stripe as well. I think it was Fox that hit them both to win by 2. Clippers 115-92. Harden had 27 and 9. For the Hawks, Nickeil Alexander-Walker's having a really good year. He had 21 points for Atlanta. LA is another team to look at. I do like Zubac over there. If you could find a way to bring him in, if they're trying to blow things up considerably. I'm seeing people on the socials say that the Clippers are going to go after Giannis. And I'm just like, they don't have any picks. Their only pick that they have is 2029. How are they going to cobble together the best deal? Like, hey, we'll send 600 walkers your way. You can have Bradley Beal. We'll send you Yannick Conan, whatever the hell his name is. We'll send you Cam Christie. Could I interest you in Kobe Brown and take Kawhi and James Harden for their sunset tour? No, Clippers aren't getting you. Like, how? How would that happen? It's not going to be free. The team with the best deal is slightly going to move to the front of the line, you would think. Although, again, requesting to a certain team, that usually does help. Knicks beat the Hornets 119-104. Towns went for 35 and 18. LaMelo Ball. Heard some Warriors fans say that they should go after LaMelo Ball, who Charlotte has clearly given up on it seems. They're going to turn the keys over to Brandon Miller, to Con Knipple, to Sion James, to Kalkbrenner, to that entire young core that they got there. And LaMelo put up 34, 8, and 9. He's an interesting watch, to say the least. He takes some head-scratching shots. He makes some mind-boggling passes, but he's pretty efficient and pretty good. And he's being lumped into the same conversation right now is Ja Morant and Trae Young. And Trae Young's just been hurt. But those are the 3 dudes right now that a lot of NBA fans out there believe will be on the move. And a lot of NBA fans believe that maybe 2 of those guys will be swapped. One of those guys will be swapped for one another. Ball will be sent to Memphis, something along those lines. Anyways, Nets 113, Bulls 103. Giddey had a triple-double, but it's Michael Porter Jr. who had 33 and 10 to lead the way for the Nets. Rockets beat the Kings 121-95. Maxime Reyno, career high. The Stanford Cardinal. I'll give myself a pat on the back for that one. He's not doing too much this season, but he had 25 and 6. He's a real NBA player. I told you so. The Warriors wound up with Will Richard, who's, outscored him thus far with a 30-point game, and Will's been good. But Reno, man, that's some size and some stretchability that you could have taken. Şengün had 28 and 10 for Houston. Bucks beat the Pistons. Pistons dropped to 17 and 5. They've lost a few lately. Ryan Rollins had 22 and 8. Cade Cunningham 17, 7 and 7. Miami Heat fall to the Dallas Mavericks. It's Nembhard, who had 15 and 13. That was a name that Kolsky and I talked about the Warriors taking this summer, late in the draft, was Ryan Nembhard, and he had a really good game with a double-double. For Miami, it's Kel'el Ware, who's having a breakout campaign. There were always talks of whether his head was truly in the game. It looks like it's in the game, and he's got some talent, man. 22 and 10 for Kel'el Ware. Heat dropped to 14 and 8. All right, that's a show, everyone. Appreciate you for tuning in. Leave a like on the way out. Hit that subscribe. Share the show with your buds. And most importantly, let me know in the comments, do the Warriors have a chance at Giannis? Let me know in the comments, do you want Giannis? I hope it's a consensus yes. The dude's awesome. We'll see. Again, should be settled in the coming weeks per Shams Charania. This is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.